There are people who live your life thinking you won't even notice them. But the silence they leave behind becomes more powerful than any words. And then, one day, they come back. Not because they've changed overnight, but because they've discovered something they'd ignored all along. The question is, what really happens when those you thought were lost suddenly realize they miss you? And how do you react when your absence has transformed their hearts, sometimes more than your presence ever could? Today, I'm going to show you why some separations are blessings in disguise, and why the unexpected return of people can be a profound revelation for your soul. There comes a precise moment when everything falls silent. Not the soothing silence one hopes for after prayer, nor the comforting calm of nights spent alone with one's Creator. No, here, the silence is heavy, crushing. It settles like a thick veil, cutting off the outside world and leaving you alone to face the stark truth. Some people have left your life believing you wouldn't even notice their absence. At first, doubt creeps in. You ask yourself, did I matter to them? Were your efforts, your thoughtfulness, your support insignificant? Were you replaced by an easier smile, a quicker word, a presence that seemed lighter than yours? And each question becomes an echo in your heart, resonating deep within your soul, where you thought you were untouchable. But what you don't yet know is that this silence is never empty. It is not forgetfulness. It is a work that only Allah sees, an invisible purification unfolding far from human eyes. Every tear you hold back, every sigh you let pass without complaint, every moment you choose to remain standing despite the pain. This is an act of transformation. Your heart is being rebuilt with materials no one else can offer: patience, awareness, pure connection to the divine. And while the world seems to forget you, you discover a profound truth. Distance is not always a loss. Sometimes it is mercy in disguise. A necessary separation, permitted to reveal what closeness concealed. Sometimes the turmoil of relationships, expectations, and incessant demands prevents the soul from growing. And when those who thought your absence wouldn't change anything step aside, they free up a sacred space where your spirit can finally breathe, reflect, and realign with the path the Creator has laid out for you. Meanwhile, something begins to crack on the other side. The illusion that they could move forward without you begins to crumble. The comfort they took for granted turns into emptiness. And they realize, often too late, that the presence you offered was no ordinary one. What they lost wasn't just a companion, but a guardian of peace, a stabilizer of the heart, a silent witness to their own shortcomings. You observe all of this without saying a word, because you understand that there's no need to force recognition. The Creator observes every crack, every realization, every painful retreat. And you, even in the imposed solitude, move forward. Not out of revenge, not out of a desire to return, but because your soul has begun to learn a lesson no one else could teach you: the value of authentic presence, the patience that purifies the heart, and the light that only distance can reveal. As the world goes on, you realize that this emptiness is not your failure. It is proof that what you carried was important. And what seemed like an absence, an oversight, is in reality a scene where the unseen unfolds. Your heart grows stronger, your spirit soars, and that silence that seemed so cruel becomes the voice of a guidance greater than yourself. And in this heavy stillness, this breath that everyone ignores, a question lingers. What will happen when those who thought they had forgotten you discover that they have lost far more than they could have imagined? They left confidently, light-footed, their minds convinced that their world would remain untouched, that your absence would leave no trace. They turned around only once, perhaps, but quickly, as if to check that you were no longer there. And then they carried on, confident in their illusion of control, in their belief that life could be repeated like a scene replayed over and over without ever missing a note. They laughed. Whether it was forced or genuine, it didn't matter. They filled the void you had left, thinking that simply speaking louder, smiling more broadly, could mask the subtle but essential absence you carried. They went with the flow, convincing themselves that the memories you had woven were replaceable, that the silences you respected could be filled with noise. But what they didn't see, what they couldn't foresee, was the gradual emptiness that seeped like a mist into their lives. Not sudden, not immediate. Number. A subtle, slow void that settled in the recesses of their minds, in forgotten gestures, in bursts of laughter that suddenly seemed to lack substance. An absence felt in the little things, a look searching for someone to understand, a word seeking an echo, a gesture seeking a faithful hand. Because your presence, however discreet, carried a depth that few could grasp. It stabilized. It calmed. It ordered the invisible chaos that no one else saw. It wasn't loud. It didn't shout to exist. But it was essential, like breath in the lungs, like the rhythm of prayer that aligns the heart with the divine. And then, little by little, the world they had tried to rebuild without you begins to crumble. Their confidence cracks. The laughter loses its warmth. Conversations become superficial, as if their hearts already knew what they don't want to admit. Your mere absence speaks louder than all the words they had ignored. There comes a moment when they begin to feel what you carried within you without showing it. They feel the stability you brought, the silence you respected, the patience you taught without saying a word. And this void is no longer just a thought, but a weight. An invisible force that compels them to reevaluate their world, to recognize the order you imposed simply by being. What they had never anticipated is that sometimes distance acts as a revealing light. It unveils what blind proximity prevented them from seeing. And suddenly, they understand. They have lost far more than they imagined. They have lost the tranquility, the constancy, the silent guidance that came from you. Meanwhile, you observe. Not with resentment, but with the certainty that the Creator is witnessing. Every realization, every small tremor in their world, is a sign that what was invisible is finally being acknowledged, even if it is late. And as the void they had ignored begins to speak, the burning question in the air becomes clear. What will they do when this silence transforms into revelation? The absence of someone or something has a silent power that few truly understand. It is not simply the absence of someone or something. It is a revealer, a mirror held up to the hearts of others, a mirror they don't always want to look at. They begin to feel what you were holding back, what you carried without saying a word. The tensions they created that you patiently soothed. The imbalances you compensated for to maintain a fragile peace. All that invisible work you did, quietly, humbly, begins to manifest in the void you left behind. And this void is not nostalgia. It is not simply regret or a sentimental longing. It is a belated realization, a truth that strikes when pride finally fades and the heart, laid bare, confronts its own fragility. Because the value of an authentic presence is never fully understood while it is available. Consistency, patience, loyalty. These qualities seem ordinary until they vanish. And then, everything they took for granted becomes a burden they can no longer bear alone. They realize that what you offered freely, silently, with a heart aligned with the divine, cannot be replaced by hasty gestures or belated words. Meanwhile, you were forced to rebuild yourself. Without recognition, without applause, without anyone stopping to see how many times you got back up, how many silent prayers you offered for them, how many nights you spent mending what they had unknowingly broken. And this rebuilding, invisible to the world, has a profound effect. It shaped you in silence, like a sculptor shapes stone. She taught you that true strength doesn't depend on the recognition of others, but on the faithfulness of your heart to Allah. She showed you that even in isolation, every breath, every trial, every tear is an act of purification. The absence of others then becomes a mirror not only for them, but for you. A mirror in which you observe your own path, your own mistakes, your own unrealistic expectations, and above all, the depth of your inner commitment. You see how much you have grown, how much you have learned to stand on your own 2 feet, to find your peace in remembrance, in patience, in letting the Creator manage what is beyond your control. And in this mirror, there is a truth that no one else can grasp. The awareness of your own worth, independent of who stays or who returns. The absence of others does not impoverish you. It reveals the light within you, the strength that no one has ever been able to touch or understand. But as this mirror lights up, a question hangs in the air, imperceptible yet insistent. What will they do now? When they see the depth of what they have lost, and above all, will you still be the person they thought they would find again? Imagine a door slamming shut in your face. Not a soft close, not a discreet click inviting you to understand. No. A door slamming shut, heavy, imposing, leaving you alone in an unexpected darkness. Your heart clenches, your thoughts become muddled, and a question burns in your soul. Why? Why now? In that moment, you see only emptiness. You see only the absence of the faces that mattered, the words that reassured you, the gestures that warmed your heart. Everything seems frozen. Everything seems unfair. And yet, what you don't know is that this door, however brutal, was a disguised protection. It prevented the light from scattering elsewhere. It removed you from what slowed you down, from what could contaminate your path, from what could disturb the purity the Creator inscribed in your heart. This separation is not a punishment. It is a subtle recalibration orchestrated by the One who sees what we cannot. What you perceive as abandonment is, in reality, an act of silent mercy. Each absence, each distance, is a precise adjustment to protect your soul from what could have hindered it. While they learn to live without you, with their doubts, their regrets, their longing, you learn to live for yourself. But above all, for Allah. You discover the depth of your silence, the strength of your heart, the power of your mind when it is no longer distracted by the expectations of others. Each prayer becomes more conscious, each breath fuller, each choice more aligned with the path you are destined to follow. And there is a strange beauty in this solitude. It reveals to you that peace never comes from the outside. It comes from within. It shows you that consistency and balance don't depend on others, but on your connection to the divine, on your ability to anchor yourself in patience and gratitude, even when all seems lost. Wounds become lessons, silences become revelations, and absences become hidden treasures. As your inner balance is restored, something begins to happen. Paths that seemed lost, relationships that seemed over, strangely begin to realign. Those who thought that they had forgotten you feel a force they cannot explain. Longing guides them. Emptiness compels them to remember. and the reality they ignored reinvents itself in their minds. And yet, the magic of this restoration isn't in their return. It's in what you have become during their absence. A purer heart, a clearer awareness, a more sincere connection, an inner strength that nothing and no one can break. This is the divine paradox. Loss becomes gain, distance becomes revelation, and separation becomes mercy. Every separation is a lesson. Every emptiness is a sacred space for your soul. And in this silence, in this darkness that seemed so heavy, the light prepares to return, but this time to illuminate not what you are losing, but what you have become. And while the world around you seems unchanged, an invisible question settles in your heart. What will those who let you go do when they see that what they thought they controlled was never in their hands? Why now? Why after months, sometimes years, of silence and emptiness? Why when you learned to stop waiting? When your heart began to rebuild itself far from their illusions? Because your absence has done more than your presence ever could. Your departure, silent or forced, has left a void that cannot be ignored. A void that speaks to those who thought they understood everything. And this void acts like a mirror, a brutal reflection of their mistakes, their negligence, their inability to see what the Creator was showing them from the beginning. Because distance has a voice that words can never match. It cries out where conversations fail. It reveals where habit blinds. It makes you feel where indifference ignored. Your absence has become a silent message, a divine reminder to them. What you had, you didn't know. Now you must acknowledge it, or lose it forever. And the loss? Yeah. The loss taught them what habit had erased. Everything you offered quietly, without asking for recognition, begins to manifest in their lives like a light they unknowingly extinguished. They remember your smile, your consistency, your patience, the qualities you possessed naturally and that they thought they could replace. And suddenly, everything they took for granted becomes a void they can no longer bear. But beware, this return is not an automatic blessing. It is not a sign that they have changed, nor that the past can be erased. People returning is often a test, not a reward. A test of discernment, a test of maturity, a test of the heart that the Creator placed there to protect you, to verify if you have truly learned, grown, and understood the value of what you already possess. What will you choose now? Will you accept their return with the same vulnerability as before, or has your heart grown wiser, more aligned with divine guidance? Will you accept repeating the same patterns, or will you recognize the distance as a lesson they must first earn? Because someone's return should never determine your happiness. Your happiness, your inner peace, your light, depend solely on you and your connection with the one who sees all, knows all, and guides every step. The test is subtle. You see their regret, you see their attempt to get closer. But you must feel in your heart what is right, what is pure, what uplifts you spiritually. Don't be deceived by the urgency of their return. Don't confuse the need to be chosen with the value you already possess in the eyes of your Creator. And sometimes, even after their return, nothing will be the same. Because you have changed. Your heart has grown. Your soul has learned to protect itself. Your gaze has learned to discern what nourishes and what destroys. So the real question isn't, why are they coming back now? The real question is, What will you do when they return? Because this test, this subtle trial, isn't for them. It's for you. And the answer you choose could very well determine your balance, your serenity, and the depth of your connection with the divine.
The most unsettling thing isn't that they're coming back. It's realizing that your heart has moved on, that it no longer beats to the rhythm of others' expectations, that it no longer trembles in the face of indifference or a rejection. It has become a heart that knows how to walk alone, that knows how to breathe with its own light, that knows how to draw its worth from the silent and constant connection with the one who sees what no one else can see. You are no longer driven by the need to be chosen. You now only wait for a glance, a validation, a word that will confirm your worth. Because you have understood that your worth has never depended on the approval of others. It depends on the breath the Creator gave you, on the soul He carefully shaped, on the patience you have cultivated through trials. You have learned to recognize this inner light, this strength that no one can erase, not even the absence of those who thought you were replaceable. And sometimes, the return comes too late. Not out of revenge, not out of pride, but because you are no longer the same person who once waited. Your heart has grown. Your mind has learned to discern what nourishes and what destroys. Your patience has transformed into wisdom. And what you sought elsewhere, in the hands of others, you now find in the depths of your own being. This disconnect, this silent distance between you and those who return, is not coldness. It is an elevation, a quiet ascension that goes unseen, but that your soul fully feels. Because you now know that everything that returns to you must be in harmony with your path, with your inner peace, with the plan the Creator has laid out for you. You are no longer available to those who are not ready to walk at your pace, to those who do not understand the value of a faithful and patient presence. And in this precise moment, a question lingers. Not for them, for you. A silent but powerful question. What will I do now with this return? Will I welcome what comes back with the same naivete as before? Or will I let my heart choose what is right and pure in accordance with the one who guides every step? This is a moment when silence becomes a lesson. A moment when your mind understands that true power lies not in attracting those who have left, but in the mastery of your own heart, in the ability to remain anchored in the light, even when everything around seems uncertain. Because the truth that many ignore is that the deepest transformation isn't measured by what others give or give back, but by what your soul becomes when it's alone, when it's tested, when it's nourished by patience and connection. It's in this voluntary solitude that you learn to recognize the signs, to hear the breath of the Creator in every absence and every return, to perceive the value of what you already carry within you. And even if the world tries to pull you back to what you once were, your heart now knows it cannot go back. It has found its rhythm, its light, its peace. And the real question remains, suspended in the breath of the moment. What will you do when everything that returns no longer asks you to become who you once were? Sometimes people come back into your life, and sometimes they never arrive in time. But what truly matters isn't who comes back. It's who you become while they're gone. If this message resonated with you, leave a comment with your experience, subscribe for more spiritual guidance, and share this video with someone who needs a reminder that every absence and every return has a deeper meaning. Because in every separation, there's a lesson. And in every return, a new chance to understand the value of what you carry within you.